All right. Good evening, everyone. My name is Matt Doyle. I'm a college counselor from Kent Denver School. On behalf of the Rocky Mountain College Night Planning Committee, I want to welcome you to the panel session, Opportunities and Pathways for STEM Majors. Tonight, I'm really excited to welcome Kathleen from Haverford College, Madeline from Emory University, Rachel from Union College, and Crystal from Case Western Reserve University to offer their expertise on this topic. Please feel free to add your questions to the Q&A section throughout the presentation. And with that, I'm going to turn things over to Kathleen, who will be moderating us tonight.
Wonderful. Thanks, Matt. And welcome, everyone. Thanks so much for spending part of your night with us. We're really excited to have the next 40 or so minutes to share a little bit about STEM opportunities at our institutions and institutions across the United States more broadly. And really hope you feel like all of the sessions are opportunities for you to get your questions answered. So we have a bunch of topics that we can cover, but I really hope that you'll use the Q&A at the bottom of your screen so we can know what's on your mind. I think it's really exciting that this is one of the largest sessions this evening. I think the last year and a half of our global context has made clear how important science is to all of us, right? Whether we identify as scientists ourselves or have deep appreciation for scientists who are doing really important work right now. Before we dive into sort of the bulk of the panel, though, I wanted everyone to maybe share a fun fact about the institution that they represent. And so, Crystal, you're sort of next to me on my screen. Can I pass things off to you?
Sure. Good evening, everyone. It's great to be here with y'all. A fun fact about Case Western Reserve University that's pretty timely is that we hosted the September presidential debate. And I will kick it off to Madeline from Emory.
Awesome. So a fun fact about Emory in Atlanta, we have two mascots. We have Swoop, who's our athletic mascot, and so it's great, the Eagles, but I think everyone's favorite mascot who's an alum, and I am, is Dooley. He's a skeleton, pretty mischievous for a mascot, so lots of fun times to be had with Dooley on campus. And then Rachel, you can wrap this up.
Yeah. So I'm Rachel from Union in Schenectady, New York. And a fun fact about Union, we were the first liberal arts college to offer engineering, and we were founded in 1795. So we got a lot of history.
That is wonderful. Thanks, Rachel. And I think that's a great segue to sort of starting this conversation off. And really, what does it look like to be someone who majors in STEM fields at each of your campuses? I'm sure there'll be some questions that just one of us answer and others that all of us answer, but I think it'd be great, since there are really different institutions on the call, to share a little bit about what that looks like. Do you have to declare a major when you're applying to your college? Are you taking courses outside of your major? And sort of what does that pathway look like, especially for students interested in STEM fields? Madeline, do you want to start us off?
Absolutely. So STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math, it itself is really broad as a topic. But even within each of those letters in STEM, things can get even more broad. So at Emory, we are also a liberal arts university, but we are really well known for our opportunities in STEM, and particularly things within the healthcare system. So STEM at Emory is often very health oriented, although it doesn't have to be. We have excellent computer science and quantitative programs as well. Something to know is that you do not apply into a major when you apply to Emory. You just apply to the College of Arts and Sciences. You let us know that you're interested in, applied math. That's so great, so interesting. You get to Emory and you are not actually that major. You can declare your major at the end of your sophomore year. You can start taking classes really in whatever topic or whatever area you're interested in, but you don't pick that major too early on. We have over 80 majors, many of them not STEM oriented, and over 60% of our students will end up double majoring. And so that's really great if you are interested in something in the sciences or in technology fields. You don't have to just pick one piece. And I think that's not just the way that Emory is, but I think it's the way that a lot of universities are moving, is this idea of interdisciplinary research or interdisciplinary topics. Just because you're studying one thing doesn't mean it's not applicable to another. So STEM students at Emory are certainly interdisciplinary, probably double majoring. And if you have more healthcare questions, I can go into a whole long spiel about the health opportunities at Emory, but that is what we are known for.
Awesome, thanks. And Crystal, what does that look like at Case Western?
So we're going to be a bit different. Case Western Reserve University in Cleveland, Ohio, we are a Tier 1 research university. Our university is comprised of the College of Arts and Sciences, the College of Nursing, the College of Management, and the College of Engineering. So as students apply, they do indicate what they're interested in majoring in. And that's the lens through which we review their application. Once they're accepted to every major and every college across campus. So they start day one in what you're thinking about majoring in. You can declare in November of your first year. You can declare as late as the spring of your sophomore year. So you really do have time to delve in. Much like Emory, our students are very interested in it. It's interdisciplinary approach. One of the things that I love about Case Western Reserve is the flexibility that our curriculum affords our students. So many of our students do have double majors, have a major and a minor. They may be taking classes that are, in the College of Engineering, or they may be combining that with, entrepreneurship. So we're a place that, for students who are interested in STEM, are very interested in innovation, of solving the problems of tomorrow. We're a really collaborative place. And so that's how we approach everything that we do at Case Western Reserve, STEM, non-STEM, and things of that nature. So if you are interested in STEM, we are a place that's really well known for health, for engineering, for computer science. So that's a little bit about us.
Awesome, thanks. And Rachel, do you mind sort of rounding out what it means to be someone interested in STEM at a liberal arts and sciences college?
Yeah, absolutely. I think kind of comparing all three of us, I'm more closely to Emory in our structure. We're a small liberal arts institution, 2,200 students. About half of our students study STEM and about half humanities, social sciences, liberal arts. And we have 4 ABET accredited engineering programs. So we've got a really nice mix of options for students interested in STEM and humanities, and they're similarly interdisciplinary. In terms of approaching, we do a holistic application review. And so you're applying to Union College in general, not a specific major or program. You have until the end of your sophomore year to decide. And I think somebody in the Q&A asked, how early can students start taking these non-core or major specific classes? And I know at Union, being liberal arts, you'll be able to do that right away and jump right into the curriculum that interests you. And there's a flexibility around that. Something a little different about Union is we have trimesters instead of semesters. So that, again, you're choosing classes 3 times a year instead of twice. So opens up the doors to be able to do that as well. But again, the interdisciplinary, the flexibility, and the research opportunities as well in those early years.
Great, thank you. As someone who also works for a small liberal arts college, I always like to sort of say that, liberal arts is short for liberal arts and sciences, right? And so at any of the institutions represented here tonight, not just on this panel, but I'm sure across many panels, you can get a great education in the STEM fields and the natural sciences as well. Here's a great question that's come in. Is it important to take a lot of STEM classes in high school if I want to be a STEM major in college? Someone want to jump in and tackle that first?
I'll start if that's okay with my colleagues. It's important that you have a strong foundation in math and science, and what that's going to look like is going to be very different. I know for Case Western Reserve, we are not looking for students who've taken the maximum number of APs. We are looking to see that you've had calculus, that you've had biology, chemistry, and physics, that you've taken at least one of those sciences on a high level, depending on where you go to school, whether that's an IB or AP or advanced or whatever your school calls it. That's going to be the important thing for us, is that foundation.
That is perfect. I think Emory completely agrees. Excellent job, Crystal.
Yes, wonderful. And in thinking about the sort of opportunity to, take advantage of not only amazing courses across disciplines at your high school, but also at, wonderful colleges and universities, there's a sort of emphasis on teaching and an emphasis on research, right? And in every field, including STEM fields, that opportunity to do hands-on work is so important. So Rachel, do you mind starting to talk a little bit about what does research in STEM look like at Union? Understanding that, you're talking about biochemistry, that might look really different than talking about astronomy and what have you, but what are opportunities for undergraduate students to be engaged in research in STEM at Union like?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's something that people, when they look at Union, understand as a piece of the experience. It's that immersive. And sometimes it takes the form of research, internship, study abroad. But in research in particular, about 80% of students are doing faculty mentored research. And so that's a really big piece of it at Union. We're all undergraduate, so the laboratories, the opportunities are there for you as early as your first year to be able to jump into. And you'll be able to work with world-renowned faculty in a particular area of expertise. And again, it's very interdisciplinary. There's a lot of spaces on campus where faculty collaborate in a lab. And, I'm like, okay, so it's a biology and a chemistry professor. No, it's probably like a visual arts professor and a computer science professor, more likely so at Union. And so I know from my own experience as an alum, as a former student at Union, the open doors for research were really instrumental in helping figure out what I wanted to study. And so it's not just like, I know what I want to do, therefore I can do research and go on to my next step. For me, it was part of the process of deciding what I wanted to pursue for my major and then after graduation as well.
Great, thanks. And at both Emory and Case Western, where there are graduate students, what does research then look like for undergraduates? And what does that process look like to get a research position? And who are students working with most closely in the labs?
So while Emory does have graduate students, and I'm going to assume some very similar to Case Western, while we do have graduate students, that Emory is also a tier 1 research institution, and research is just in the fabric of what we do. 100% of students at Emory will engage in some type of research experience or will leave Emory with research skills. And so that could mean that you've applied for a formal research position that's mentored with a faculty member or even a graduate student. In some ways that can open up more doors having graduate students on campus. But maybe you're not interested in that type, or maybe you're not ready for that. And so a lot of classes are research-based. And so it's not quizzes, tests, homework. It's you have a research project. We're going to teach you the data skills on how to put together this project, but it's really self-driven. And so you will leave Emory with research skills. I know none of you are necessarily here to learn about art history research, but even art history majors will leave Emory with those research skills. And I think there are two really big hallmark programs for research at Emory. They both have acronyms, but they're kind of the same thing, SURE and SIRE, Summer Undergraduate Research Experience, Scholarly Inquiry and Research Experience. They're quite similar. I wish they had the same acronym. But the way it works is, let's say you're a freshman, you're interested in chemistry research and you want to know about vaccine research, but you've never done anything like that, and you don't know anyone on campus who does that. You apply to SURE or SIRE, and then faculty members on the opposite side will go in and say, these are the types of research positions that I am hosting. And the office will put you together. They will match you with a professor who's looking for someone. If you qualify for a work study position on campus, this counts as your work study job, which is really awesome. And so there's a lot of great ways for students to get involved with research early on, even if you don't know anyone and you've never done something like that before. A lot of high school students haven't had the experience of being in a lab or haven't had those special research positions, especially your year. There's a lot of opportunities that aren't open to you all right now just because of COVID precautions. And so that's okay. That doesn't mean you're not going to be able to be engaged in research when you get to the university level or the college level. There are programs at Emory that are set up for folks who are just ready to get started.
Many similarities between Emory and Case Western Reserve. We are a place, again, that's a tier 1 research university. So it's not a matter if it's a matter of when. If you're interested in taking on research, you can start doing research as early as your first year. 82% of our students will do some sort of research program before they graduate. As students are finding these opportunities, we put a lot of the onus on students. to be proactive about putting themselves out there, about engaging the team around them, engaging our source office, which is basically the starting point for students to think about or to learn about opportunities that we have on campus, to see the listing of opportunities from our faculty, to learn how to send that introductory email to those faculty members. Again, for work study, those are some opportunities as well. We also will go out, our students will also go out into the city of Cleveland. So some of our students are interning at NASA. We certainly are a big partner with the Cleveland Clinic, and our students are interning and researching with them. So it's really, again, it's a big part of who we are, is that hands-on learning component of the academic experience at Case Western Reserve.
Great. Thanks for sharing all that. One of the reasons that I think talking about research is really helpful is that you hear, right, that you can do research across disciplines, outside of your major, and at many different types of academic institutions. And sort of the idea of research, right, is to create new knowledge, to search for truth. And part of that is to also learn what it means to fail. And I hope that that is a sort of a helpful takeaway, because some of the questions that are coming in are about sort of the application process and, you know, how to have the most successful application. And we're not looking for fully formed human beings, right? All of our institutions wouldn't exist if you already knew everything that you needed to do, and that if you were here to sort of guide you in that process, which includes failing when you're doing research as a scientist, as a social scientist, or as someone in the humanities as well. And so with sort of that in mind, I'd love to talk about resources. What do resources look like for students on campus? Who's supporting them? You know, if their lab experiment did not turn out as they hoped to, how are students sort of finding academic support? And then more pointedly, are there specific support services and networks for students who have been historically underrepresented in STEM fields on your campus? Women, BIPOC students, members of the LGBTQIA communities. What are your institutions or other trends you're seeing more across institutions more broadly doing to support those students who are interested in STEM? Long question. So Rachel, I'll ask you to start us off, but I'm sure everyone else will have wonderful things to add too.
Yeah, you all are going to have to back me up when I forget a piece of that question. Let's see. So in terms of the support systems, I think something that's very common when you're entering college is that you'll have an academic advisor of some kind. I'm sure there's some variance between the universities here, and they can talk about that. At least at Union, you'll be assigned an advisor when you come into college, and they're kind of your go-to person to help you through the academic process at Union. And so a little bit of that is choosing your classes, a little bit of that is helping you when you fail, a little bit of that is being an introduction to other resources and support across campus. I know my academic advisor when I was a first year was a physics professor, and I took one physics class and was ready to move on from that discipline. But I loved that he was wonderful and supportive and helped me find classes like neuroscience and biology and psychology that I was really interested in. And so I've always appreciated the academic advisor role. Many colleges and universities also offer academic achievement offices to offer peer tutoring and mentorship to help with study skills. And in particular, for students who are typically underrepresented in STEM, there are additional resources as well. It might be a help desk on a Tuesday, Thursday night with a peer who is an excellent student in computer science and can help guide you through some of the tricky projects that you'll take in that introductory class. Or maybe it's one-on-one mentorship or a writing center, a help desk, something like that. At Union specifically, there's also some more targeted funding and resources for underrepresented populations in STEM. Just this past year, there was a gift announced for the Templeton Institute of Computer Science and Engineering, specifically to help fund women and students of color in STEM to attend Union. And with that, also to fund faculty and staff that look like our students. And I think that's a big piece of it too. And you'll see many colleges and universities a really great push to help our students feel included and welcome in these disciplines in which they're typically underrepresented. And a lot of that comes to the faculty who then circle back and become their advisors and support systems across campus.
A very full answer. Oh, great, Crystal, thank you.
That was really well done, Rachel. Way to remember all the things. Starting with the academic resources at Case Western Reserve for all of our students. All of our students, when they are admitted, they are given a staff or a team of staff members who are supporting them throughout their four-year journey. The first person they're going to come into contact with is the navigator, and the navigator's sole purpose is to help students maximize their experience while on campus. So finding out where to go to find those research opportunities, how to get involved with extracurricular activities, maybe the study abroad office, whatever the situation is, the navigator is the point person. They're with our students all 4 years, so they really get to know them well. All of our students are given advisors. Most of our students will have at least two. One, you will have an advisor until you declare a major. Once you declare a major, you'll have an advisor in that field. If you're a pre-med student, you'll have your pre-health advisor. So it really just depends on what you want to do at the university. Another member of their team is our research and personal librarian. So all of our students do have, again, a point person to help them with all of their academic endeavors. So that's kind of the start. That's your team of people. If you find yourself that you need additional support, if you need that peer-to-peer tutoring, if you need that study skills, if you need to find a study group. That's one of the things that our peer tutoring center will do is maybe you don't need that one-to-one, but you could be in a study group with a skilled tutor to help a group of you all so you can lean on one another as you're learning the difficult material, no matter what the case may be. So that's some of the opportunities. We also have several affinity groups on our campus for women, for underrepresented students, for first gen. So again, it's all about knowing that it's there for certain, but also, engaging the navigator and saying and seeking those kind of organizations out. And that's the thing about college is that you are going to have to be a little proactive. Nobody's going to be knocking on your door to say, come join this group. You have to kind of seek them out. But again, there are resources available throughout all of our universities. And so that's something that I would point out to students.
I could add something specific about Emory that maybe hasn't been mentioned. One is just professors. Professors are fantastic first resources. At Emory, 85% of classes have fewer than 30 students. So sure, you'll have some that may be bigger, but that may be 1 or 2 classes. And so if you're in a room of 30 people, you will know the professor and they will know you. And I mean, of course, they have office hours. Every university has that. But people who do well are people who actually use office hours. So when it says that it's there and you're like, oh, I only have this one little question, go and ask that one little question because you're really developing a relationship with that person. And that's always a good thing to have with a relationship with your professors. They're so wonderful. They're such great mentors. A lot of college, like Crystal was saying, is knowing that these resources are there. But when you get to universities, it's overwhelming, the amount that you have access to, and you may not know about every single opportunity. And the sooner you know about it, the sooner you can engage with it. And so that's why engaging with your professors is such a great, easy first step because they know about everything. Another version of that is something Emory has called the STEM Pathways program. It's a summer program for historically underrepresented students in STEM, for students to come and engage before school even starts. And the point is, again, to introduce you to doors that you may not know exist. I think if you have had a parent that has worked in the medical field or in the STEM field, you may know about a lot of doors that are open. If you haven't had a parent that's done that or a parent who's gone to university before, it's not that you're not capable of doing these things. You may not know what some of your options are. And so this program is to just let you know what your options are so that you can just be ahead of the game when you get to campus. So professors are an excellent first step at every university, of course, Emory, and then the STEM Pathways program is something we're pretty proud of.
Awesome, thanks. Appreciate you all tackling a very long question, so thank you for that. A few questions have come in about support for students interested in being pre-med. And so we'd love to talk a little bit about what that looks like. There's a specific question about sort of a dual BS-MD program, which some of you may offer, but I know everyone offers really tremendous support for students who are applying to med school, whether that's on a similar campus or going to a really different type of school. So maybe Crystal, do you mind to start us off with that one?
Sure. The short answer to the BSMD question is yes. We have a program. It's called the Pre-Professional Scholars Program. It is not an accelerated program. It is a conditional admission. You apply as you're applying to the university. This past cycle, we received about 2,800 applications for a PPSP program. We just offered about 27. So now 27 in mid, so it is really competitive. The caveat to this program and why it's so popular is that as you are applying to the university, if you're accepted in a PPSP, if you maintain a GPA of a 3.7, you can major in whatever you want. You don't have to take the MCAT, and then you're offered admission to our medical school as a senior in high school, which is pretty awesome. Aside from the PPSP program, we're very well known for medicine. In the University Circle area of Cleveland, which is where the university is, we are a nucleus of medicine, I should say. There's the Cleveland Clinic, there's the fourth largest Veterans Affairs hospital or Veterans Administration hospital in the country right next door. There's University Hospital. So the level of exposure that our students have to medicine as undergraduate students is pretty amazing. Our students are interning, they're researching, some are co-oping, depending if they're engineering or not. And so when our students are applying to med school, our acceptance rate is twice the national average. Lots of us are going to say that. The difference is that we support every single application to medical school from our students. So you don't have to have a certain GPA, you don't have to have majored in a certain area. If you want to go to med school, you're still getting the same level of advice about class selection, making sure you have the 19 prerequisite courses that medical school requires, making sure that you've prepared your resume, you have things to put on your resume, as well as giving you some interview prep and so forth. So those are some of the things that you're going to find at Case Western Reserve.
I think Emory's going to say some very similar things here. I like that, a nucleus. I'm going to steal that, Crystal. Thank you. Emory is a nucleus in the southeast of healthcare. The largest healthcare network in the southeast is Emory University. The #1 hospital in the southeast is Emory University Hospital. It's right next to the dining hall. There are 4 hospitals within walking distance of your dorm room. That's not counting the ones driving. Those are just walking distance. And the CDC is on our campus. So they're like, you betcha. There are places to engage with the medical community, places for research, places for shadowing, and places to just kind of get exposure. So we do not have a BS-MD program. All that being said, we support 100 for anyone who wants to apply to medical school. We will write that composite letter for you, even if we do not think you'll ultimately be a competitive applicant. We will support any application to medical school, same as Case Western, and our similar acceptance rates. And I think that a lot of students come into college kind of thinking, oh, I love math, I love science, STEM, I want to help people, I'm going to be a doctor. You can totally do that. But I think one of the great things is that you'll engage with the pre-health mentoring office, and they'll introduce you to, what does an MD path look like as opposed to a PhD path. I think a lot of students want to help people, especially thinking about epidemiology right now. That's not necessarily working with patients every day. You can do that as a physician, or what does a PA path look like? And so the pre-health and mentoring office is really wonderful about working with students, just understanding how broad the medical opportunities are, and you can engage with all of those on campus, just given Emory's resources and the CDC.
And then to bring us all together here, so we have a little bit of everything. We do offer a BSMD program at Union, similar in that it's a competitive, highly competitive program. We're a test optional institution, but in order to apply for that program, there's testing. We partner with Albany Medical College, which is just down the street from us. And it's 4 years at Union, 4 years at Albany Medical College. And it's also actually 3 degrees in 8 years. So students have the option for their master's in healthcare management or their MBA in healthcare management through Clarkson University Capital Region, which they'll get in their first 4 years. The other unique thing about our program, we do something called an interdepartmental major for those students. So they're required to have part of their academic program be in STEM and part of it in social sciences, humanities, or the arts. So you'll see students who are ID majors in physics and music pursuing that, biology and psychology, history and chemistry, whatever it might be. So it's pretty cool for students who are really focused on medical school, but also are looking for that liberal arts interdisciplinary academic program. And then similarly, we offer a great pre-health advising office for those who aren't part of that program that supports, again, any student who's interested in applying for medical school.
Wonderful. We've talked a lot about what I imagine are super highly selective programs in some ways, but it would be great to hear about, students who are, how easy is it for students to declare their major in a field that they're excited about? And what does that look like at a place where you're applying to a specific college versus a place where you're sort of coming in undeclared? So Madeline, do you want to start talking about sort of what it looks like to declare a major at Emory and what support is there for students to do that?
Absolutely. So declaring your major at Emory is really easy. It is really just you fill out a card and you say this is your major, and then it becomes your major. Like, I'm sure it's actually digital now. Back in the day, you just fill out a piece of paper. One thing to know is you cannot declare your major first semester freshman year. We do not let you. The card is not available to you. That doesn't mean you can't take classes in that area. We find that students change their mind and it creates more paperwork. And so just to save everyone some time, that's why we do it. We force you to be open-minded. You will also have an academic advisor. So it's a full faculty member. This person will advise 3 or 4 freshmen a year. That's it. You'll be one of 3, maybe 4. And that's the person who will help you pick classes and can talk to you about your major and even just sort of thinking about those interdisciplinary majors. I think I've mentioned a little bit about that, but it's certainly going in that direction at Emory. A lot of students will come in thinking one thing, not knowing there's an interdisciplinary option. So changing your major is just as easy as declaring it. You just refill out the card and we change it in the system. You can have 2 majors at Emory or a major and a minor. You cannot have 3 things that you get to pick. We do have a business school and a nursing school. So if you're going to the nursing school, you go and get your bachelor's of sciences in nursing. If you're going to the business school, you get your bachelor's in business administration. You can double major across the college. You cannot do business and nursing at the same time. That's a little wild. We can talk about how that would not be the right path. But the degree you receive is the college you graduate from. So the nursing school is a nursing degree, business school is a business degree, college is BA or a BS. So that was a little more in depth, but that is our structure. I'll give it to Rachel next.
Yeah, we're similar in that you have lots of time to decide what you want to study at Union. You're applying generally, you're applying to one college, lots of opportunities. I find that students mostly are declaring in their sophomore year. And so I have been privileged to see my peers change their minds and find different interests, but also it's fairly easy to double major at Union, to major in minor. And so I see a lot of interdisciplinary students anyway, or folks who start off with, chemistry as their main interest, and then it's biochemistry, and then it's a biology major and a chemistry minor by the time they graduate. And so there's some flexibility there. I think the trimesters come into play with that. I think the openness of the liberal arts come into play with that. I'll also mention for engineering specifically, that is a little more hierarchical. So oftentimes students are going to declare an engineering major earlier, so by the end of the sophomore year, to be more focused in that hierarchical path and graduate within 4 years. I found that is a wonderful opportunity. If you're looking to be able to add stuff later, you can do that as well. But engineering, usually people want to start off early. Does that answer the question? Okay, great.
So for us, it's a little different. Like I mentioned before, as you applied to the university, we ask you what your top 2 majors are, what you think your career goal is, and that's the lens through which we review your application. And once you're, like I said, once you're admitted to every major and every college across campus, but you start day 1 in that area. For example, if you are a biomedical engineer and that first semester is going to be biochem, calc, a SAGES class, which is like a writing seminar, and then one other class. That you'll know immediately if engineering is a thing that you want to continue, if it's something that you want to change, and you can do that very, very easily. And like Rachel did say, you know, a lot of our students who are applying to the university have known forever that they want to be an engineer, or they've known forever they want to be in the health field. So by our students being able to start in those areas where they may have come in as a BME major, that could very easily turn into computer science or computer engineering or something along those lines. And that's very fluid and very easy. Our students who know engineering is their thing, that's what they've come to the university for, we do allow them to declare as early as their first year. And then for other students who want to figure out exactly what engineering, what combination of majors or minors or double majoring interests them, they do have that time. I will say the caveat or the exception is for our nurses. At Case Western Reserve University, if we are a direct entry nursing program. So if you're interested in nursing, you start day 1 in nursing, you start your clinical rotation in your first 3 weeks. So it's harder for students to transfer into the nursing program because of that cohort, because of that clinical rotation. So keeping that in mind, if that is something in the back of your mind, in the back of your mind is something that you may be interested in. I think I answered all the questions.
Yes, you all have been excellent and answered all the questions. We have only a few minutes left, but wanted to end on a question that's come in about sort of, what recommendations do you have for students who are interested in STEM, who are applying to college, and especially sort of in light of many places being test optional? So maybe we can start with you, Rachel, and then go around just a few words of advice for students interested in applying to college and with STEM interests.
I will say at Union, we've been test optional for many years, so that's not new to us, but I know it's new to many. But my biggest piece of advice for those applying to college in the coming year is to take a deep breath. It's all going to be okay. There are so many amazing colleges and universities across the country that offer fantastic programs in STEM, in liberal arts, in interdisciplinary programs, and you'll find a great home. Just take that deep breath and you're going to be okay.
Awesome, thanks. Madeline, how about you?
I think I'm going to give some very tangible advice, and Crystal mentioned it earlier. If you're thinking about STEM in your high school career, you really need to take physics, chemistry, or bio. More is helpful. That doesn't mean all at once, but those are such a great taste of what you're getting yourself into. It's not just wanting to accomplish a lot of the things that STEM can accomplish. It's, do you have the quantitative background to prepare for it? So make sure you're setting yourself up for success and getting that strong quantitative background, little doses at a time. We don't recommend students take biochem and physics all at the same time at Emory. That's too much. It's too much in high school too. But make sure you're setting yourself up for success with your classes.
The only thing I would add in addition is your math preparation. If you're interested in STEM for any college, make sure that you are well-versed in calculus. If your school offers an AB or BC, and I know that many of you all may have been on a track starting at 9th grade dictates that you can't take BC or you can take BC. If it's available, I recommend it. You're only going to be doing yourself some favors. I know there was a question about test optional. And I did want to touch on that because it's so prevalent to our time right now, is that we went all in on test optional for the next few years. And while we said that your grades are going to matter, we certainly want to admit students at Case Western Reserve who are going to be Case alums. And the best indicator for us is how you did in high school, how you challenged yourself within your high school curriculum. But also, if you are a student who did take three sciences, which I also don't recommend, if you have some quantitative results, if you've taken an AP exam and scored a 4 or 5, that is maybe something that you want to submit to a college on your application or in your application. So you all go to schools that have fantastic counselors, and they'd be able to best engage you with those kind of conversations.
Wonderful. Well, I think that's a great note to end on, with appreciation to your counselors for having us, and appreciation to you all for giving us some of your time. So best of luck to you all, and thanks so much.
Yes. So thank you so much to our panelists for sharing your time and expertise with us this evening. Right now, actually, there are Q&A sessions with college reps for students only for the next half hour until 8 o'clock. So please visit the event webpage. The link is strivescan.com/CO2021 to access those meeting rooms. We wish you all great conversations. And again, thank you all so much and have a good night.